welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst radio network. All past shows are archived. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. Send your questions and comments to DJ@ArtistFirst.com. And now, here's your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Hey, and thank you very much, Z-Man, and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Yeah, no, it's January 8th or something, but it's Happy New Year to us. we celebrate the Zoroastrian New Year or something like that, or the Galactic Sidereal New Year. That's what I think.
Let's make it up.
Let's just make it up as we go along. So welcome back to the first show, the first live show of 2019 of The Soul of the Everyman. And you thought you got rid of us in 2018, but we're like a virus. We're like the flu. Once you get it, you can't get rid of us. And we had a couple of really good weeks off, almost 3 weeks off, and we had a couple of shows, rebroadcast shows that were the best shows of the best of the best of the best shows that we have.
Okay.
But now we've come back and we've come back down to earth.
Here we are.
And here we are. And we thought we would start out this show, this 2019, with a what people do, Margaret, over the course of the holidays and coming into the New Year's, they always do the classic New Year's resolutions, and some of it is about what's my attitude going to be? What am I going to do for the new year? How am I going to?
I want to change something.
Want to change something?
Let me choose something to change, and it's usually weight.
Right, or your underwear, or something. or wait to change your underwear. There's things that people do, but we put up this really boss graphic. It popped up, I guess, onto your Facebook feed or my Facebook feed. I don't know. It popped up on some Facebook feed, and I thought it was funny, and I sent it to you, and then we both thought it was actually sort of both funny and a bit profound. So if you go to the website, because I know you guys are just hanging on every word for the moment the website is updated, it might not be there. But the graphic is, in essence, or the sentiment is that you can look at life from the point of view of an optimist, somebody who sees the good in things.
Yes, the optimist says things happen for a reason. Pessimist says things are random and meaningless. And we say, things? What things? Nobody told me about any things.
Right. Things? And those are, it's humorous, of course, but those are kind of a good way of dividing the world into what people actually do. When something happens, let's say something happens or something new comes into your life, people will react either negatively, they'll say, oh, it's going to be terrible, and nothing good ever happens to me, blah, 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 and any change is bad, and anything that I didn't think of is bad, and, they just go on, and they want to tell everybody about it, and they want everybody to agree with them that it's the most horrible thing that ever happened. And then there's folks who say, well, change is good, and good is change, and I like new things, and new things are new opportunities, and
things happen for a reason.
Things happen for a reason, and that's a great part of the sentiment, because when do people say that? They say that when something bad happens. They say, well, it may not have been exactly what I wanted to have happen, but things, whatever the things are, they happen for a reason, and it'll all come to the good in the end. Usually that's how that works. And somebody I know, somebody we both know, said that, he called that the Christian disease. They said, oh, that's the Christian disease. Things happen for a reason. It'll all come to good in the end, And I said, that's not very fair or very or necessarily true.
The other way is Murphy's Law. So why is that better?
Well, or things are random and meaningless. And I said, why is that better? I countered back with, well, don't you believe in a God? And he goes, of course I do. I said, don't you believe God is good? He goes, course I do. You're backing me into a corner. Stop it. so I relented and we moved on. But
well, I like the default position of things. What things?
well, and that's exactly it, Mark. When that's actually a better, not better, but that is
a more honest state.
I think it's a more original state.
Yes. We're there when we start. It's like, what?
Nobody told me about things. And what the 2-year-old, what the child in all of us does is says, oh, things. Nobody told me about things. Let's go find out about things. Let's go. Let's go.
What's things?
What's things? And then let's go do. Let's go explore
and taste it.
and not put either an optimistic or a pessimistic spin on it. It's just a thing.
It's a thing, right?
It's just a thing, and I think that's what kind of the overarching. It's what appealed to both of us is that's so true, and it's funny, but it's also sort of the overarching way of looking at any new opportunity at a new year. You have to look at it the way a 2-year-old looks at the first things that they do in it's the first thing they do in the morning. They get up and say, things. What things? Nobody told me about things. Cookies? No one told me about cookies. Let's go find some cookies. They're not waking up saying, oh, today's going to be a terrible day. They're not even necessarily waking up and saying, that they have an agenda and they know what they're going to do and they're going to do this and it's going to be fun and now we're going to do this and it's going to be fun, and they aren't planning themselves to death. They're kind of open.
Yeah. No, I'm awake.
I'm awake.
It's good.
Good.
And they look around just to see what's there right now at this moment. When they get older, they realize, you know what? I think I'm hungry.
Right.
Or, I need to get out of this crib. Something like that. And that's when all that starts. But in general, it's just open to the experience. And that's a good way of putting it. It's like, look, today is a new day. The sun came up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up. Yay!
And in many ways, it's like, it's living life without expectations, either positive or negative. It's sort of a very sort of Zen or Buddhist way of looking at life. It's taking things as they come, as new or novel experiences. And each one, although certainly you could say, well, if I've had a cookie, the next one might be good. And so maybe you can expect it to be good. But you might go from a cookie that you like to a cookie that you hate. They're both cookies. They're both things. But you don't necessarily know whether it's good or bad. And if you, the old way of looking at it is if you're an optimist, you're perpetually disappointed, and if you're a pessimist, they say always be a pessimist because you'll always be pleasantly surprised. Well, I think the truth is don't be either, and you will be surprised, possibly pleasantly, possibly unpleasantly, but it'll always be interesting.
I think that it's all founded on whether or not you have an opinion about it.
Well, and we're getting to the nub of it. Exactly.
Do you need to have an opinion on everything?
And I think that's the even deeper nub, is people think, I must have an opinion.
Think about that for a second, because, growing up, people come over to ask you, well, do you like it or not?
Right.
And you're like, do I have to choose?
Right. And I think when people start forcing you or you start thinking that I better have an opinion, or maybe if I don't have an opinion, I don't exist or something, it's like you start to believe that you are your opinion rather than the other way around. You're not it's like I'm not a person who has an opinion. I'm an opinion who happens to be inside a person.
Right. No, but that's true. That's when you're introduced to this concept of that, your opinion means that you exist. And it's like, why? I exist outside my own opinion.
Well, I would say that if you were to finally get somebody down to the root of the thing, shove them full of a few beers and get them all happy and say to them, does your opinion matter? It's like, oh, of course it matters. My opinion, of course it matters. And they say, well, okay, you're drunk. But I think people are very upset if you say to them, does it matter? Does your opinion matter? And they want it to matter. Whether it's, in fact, they want it to. They want three things out of their opinion. They want it to matter. They want it to actually have some effect, and they want people to ask them about it. People feel that they're not validated unless you ask their opinion about it. I like it or you don't like it. And if you don't ask me, I'm like, I
don't matter.
I don't matter. I may not exist. I have an opinion about that.
Let me tell you what I think.
Let me tell you. Please let me tell you what I think.
It just reminds you of that little dot in Flatland that goes I. That's how it exists. It has to sit there in its little space, one dimension, and just sit there and go I.
Right. I mean, Descartes, I think, therefore I am. But I think what people really come down to is I have an opinion, therefore I am. And I think that's an incorrect and maybe even a destructive way of living.
Well, let me backtrack that a little bit, because Descartes, that proof is actually a proof about the existence of God. Okay, that's the core of that. Everybody narrows it down to that just simple phrase, I think, therefore I am. But it's a proof. It's basically saying that God is.
Right.
And you cannot think unless you've been gifted that ability, and it doesn't come from nowhere.
Right.
It is a mathematical proof.
Right.
So let's not go down that road.
Well, no, I think the road that we have to go down is that people throw away the beauty of that statement and turn it into a very personal, existential, I am. It becomes that point thing in
that
Flatland.
Point thing where nothing else exists except that little point. That's what, when you take that proof and you just put it into that space of one dimension and it's I, that's what you get.
Yeah.
It has no expansion. It has no perspective. It has no sense of time or space, as well as the beauty that surrounds them. It's just I.
Yes. And to relate it back to the opinion, what some people would like their opinion to be is like a revelation from the Almighty. They would like their opinion to be God's word or God's law or just law for everyone. In other words, what they think power is that somebody asks your opinion and then it matters. Like, oh my God, this basketball player wears these shoes, so we all must wear the shoes because their opinion, I like oatmeal, means everyone has to like oatmeal. They think that is kind of the epitome or the apex of existence, is to have your opinion be so significant. It becomes conflated with power.
Well, I think what it is at a core being state, understanding state, is that if I have an opinion and someone asks me about it, then I am being reflected back to me.
Exactly.
Therefore, I exist.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, that's beautiful.
That is the way that unfolds, and it is an aspect of the human consciousness that it naturally goes looking for a reflection of itself someplace. Because we were made for a relationship. I'm going to restate that. At our core being, we are made for a relationship. Now, if you render that down into very simple terms, it becomes that very simple reflection. I am looking for myself in a reflection of the outside world. Okay, it's the way a baby functions. It's the way we function at our core. Even though we are adults, many people will deny the fact that, I need validation by other people. It's like, no, because you're looking to prove that you do exist to yourself.
And that the the I, and the reflection of I is narcissus or clinical narcissism, and it's toxic. And then, if we move in the direction of relationship, a lot of, and relating it back to our premise in the beginning, a lot of of people's attitudes are based on what they would like to see reflected back. Those who are optimists would like to think that their positive attitude will get reflected back to them, and it's not necessarily untrue. It's just half the equation. But it is not untrue that a positive outlook is a kind of a good thing. It does give you positive feedback. It's not people now. We're not telling you to be negative all the time because it's better. It's not, and we're not telling you to be positive all the time because it's better. It's not. But of the two, because of what you just said, because you will get back what you give, because of, in essence, the law of karma. If you project negativity all the time, you will get a lot of negativity back. But the whole key is to, like the old movie says, don't play the game. Don't project anything. Don't project positivity. Don't project negativity. Be open and receptive to see what is coming to you, and open it up like a surprise, this is a wonderful new thing, or this is something that I don't like too much, and I'm going to move away and maybe change it or do something different. But don't always come to it as I have to put my hands out there. I have to control it. I have to project my positive personality or my negative personality to get anything back.
Right. No, it's the difference between when people are living, they think, oh, it's what I do is what my life is. And again, we go back to, no, it's your being state. Who are you?
Right.
Because you are not what you do, or you are not what's been done to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how people believe that it should work. Because when you get into that phase of doing something and getting a result, you have the appearance of being in control. And it's a real control issue. It's fear-based. Your being state is not fear-based. That's the truth. So can you exist without fear?
Exactly. Or this lovely graphic, which you guys should definitely go to the website and take a look at. This lovely graphic, everything in there, every bullet, every balloon in there starts with the word things. Okay, and that I find significant, because in essence, all of these people who are these people in the cartoon are representing people all over the world. Everything is related back to thing, which is an object, versus being, which is
right.
which is a state.
Right.
You have in the course of being, you aren't concerned with things. The last cartoon, things, nobody told me about any things. There really should be a fourth one. Things don't matter.
Why do things matter?
Or why do things matter? Or in essence, I am not concerned about things. The things are exactly what you said. You define people who are defining themselves by things, by what I do or what I have or what I can get or what I can give.
They're defining themselves on the reflections that they're getting back, and they get very angry when the reflections are not what they expect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means that what you're doing is narrowing your field of experience. Okay, you basically say, well, I'm in control of my life. I do not do this. I do not do that. This is what I want. This is what my life is all the time.
Right.
And you're like, but life isn't what you think it is.
No, it's not things.
And it's not what you're thinking about. Okay, you think about things.
It's thinking. Thing king. Ooh, thing. Ooh, thing king. Oh, it's like so, like kismet. It's like so zazen. It's so jejun. It's something. Now to elaborate on your point, it really does come down to, and we've talked about this in a number of different shows. Being a human being is not a human doing or a human thinging, or it's not a bunch of things which relate back to you or that you have or that you can do. You're not an accountant, and you're not.
And you're not a human feeling either. You can't. Okay, because people say, "Oh, well, you're talking about feelings." Like, no, we're talking about a state of being that is outside of all that, yet encompasses all of it.
Right. I would say, in some ways, feelings are evoked by things. Because that's also opinion. I mean, what is your feeling? It's just another way of saying, well, what's your opinion? You say, well, how do you feel about that?
Do you like it or don't you?
Do you like it? Don't you? How does that make you feel?
It's true. That is exactly the phrase that people use. It's, let's get in touch with our feelings.
Let's get in touch with our feelings. Exactly.
And it's like, okay, that is an aspect of who you are, but that's not everything that you are.
Let's stop there for just a second. Touch with your feelings. You can't touch a feeling, right? But what are they saying? It's like a thing. You can touch things.
True. It's instead of connecting to your feelings, you're touching it like an object instead of understanding that your feeling is something that's got to go through you, right. Not something that you grab and hold and hang on to.
Right. It's not something exactly. Your feeling is a state which is ephemeral. It's a true state of it's a true reaction, and then you go back. But when you grab onto a feeling and you squish it into a ball and hold on to it, now you've made it into an object. You made it into a thing. Nobody told me about things. Well, if you take your feelings, I feel bad about this, I feel good about this, I feel this, I feel that, and you squish them into hard little rocks and keep them in your pockets, you will be weighed down. You'll be in touch with your feelings, all right, but you'll be weighed down by them. If you gather enough of these bad, rocky feelings, you'll be a pessimist.
Right. That is what you explore all the time.
Right.
These things are the things that you look at whenever something comes up in your life and you just say, okay, this rock over here, this is anger. Oh, wait, here, this one is like, oh, no, disappointment.
That's even better, because that means every new experience has to get compressed and categorized into a thing that we then put somewhere. Okay, so a new experience happens. Oh, that's bad. Squish it into a bad ball and put it in the bad pile. And now we have a whole rocky mountain of feelings that we're in touch with. We can play with them anytime we want because they're nice.
You're basically handling, they say handling your feelings, which is like you are supposed to allow your feelings to flow through you. Handling them means that you're shoving them somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Okay. You handle objects, don't you?
Yes, it's objectification. So when you look at life and you begin to compress things like feelings into these things, feelings into things, it's the way the mental part of you tries to control you. Okay? But you are more than what you think. The thinking part of you says, okay, well, I'll classify this, and I'll make neat little rows and columns and make it so that it's manageable, so I can put my hands on it and put it where I'll feel comfortable if I rearrange the furniture. And you sit there and you go, but your core is asking to allow these emotions or these feelings to flow through you so that you get the experience. It's a way of pushing the experience back.
Yes.
And not going through it. You've got to walk through your feelings. You really do. It's like pain. The only way to handle pain is by walking through it.
Right. If you're in hell, keep walking. But I want to stop there for 2 seconds because the two things you said about the feelings flowing through you. But if you stop them, you're blocking. And then you're compressing and you're making another block. So making your feelings into objects that you can hold on to, handling them, is in many ways the way you're going to block up that flow, block up your chakra flow, block up the fact that you're a being, not something that has a bunch of opinions and a bunch of feelings that they're handling, and being weighed down, moment by moment by them.
And if you think about it in terms of an energy, a feeling being compressed into this block, all right, you just basically keep making block after block after block after block, and you may not have intended to make a wall, but if you keep mounding them up like that, you certainly will form a wall.
Yeah.
And it's a very heavy state to carry around.
Yeah.
It automatically brings you into depression. Automatically.
Yeah, because you're all that energy that you're balled up there.
And you're not allowing to flow. So you're bringing it down to a very low frequency, and it's heavy. Just so depressing.
And I think, we're talking a little bit about negative because people more are concentrated about negative feelings. But I think even having an opinion, having to have an opinion about whether you like something, even saying, I like this, I like this, I like this, and pursuing this, hedonistically, pursuing things only for pleasure, only the things I like, and making everything that I like a feeling that I have to have. This is acquisition. This is hedonism. This is living for nothing but experience of pleasure. And this is also a way of towards depression. What happens when people do nothing but pursue the ultimate, just always looking for the next pleasure? Well, it gets stale. It gets heavy. You've got block after block after block of pleasure.
Well,
that was one heck of a point, man. But in essence, while you recover there for a moment, what I would say is that just quote unquote handling a feeling, even saying that I must get something that pleases me. Here's what you'll end up doing. You will go through life rejecting all new things because they don't meet your definition of what you want or what's quote unquote I'm looking for this type of pleasure. It becomes an almost impossible task to continually pursue nothing but pleasure, nothing but the good, if you will, nothing but the positive. And it's not that you can't have a positive outlook, but I think that there's toxicity on both sides here. Always handling the negative and turning it into blocks that you carry around, or always pursuing, looking for things, looking for acquisition, trying to find happiness in things is also a road to depression.
Hello?
Much better.
Okay, sorry. When you are focusing only on things that please you, you are again compressing the feeling into another block.
Yes.
And then again, you begin accumulating these blocks.
People, Scrooge and Marley. What did Marley? All the things that he pursued in life, all this pleasures, all this money, all this stuff, became forging a huge chain. It was a beautiful metaphor. Because
right.
That's what you're doing when you turn your pleasures into things. You forge yourself a nice chain. And I think what we've done is forged an incredible chain for people to think about. And we've got to do a nice heavy show for 2019, folks. More is coming. But we're going to take a little break, go back to the studio. You can think about the chain that you're wearing right now, and we'll talk more about it on the other side.
The Timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indy Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Taking God on Patrol is a first-person account of the world of law enforcement from the perspective of a Christian police officer in the 4th largest city in America. From speeding car chases to the crossing of the thin blue line, author Mark S. Cariner seeks to find God's biblical truth in a behind-the-scenes look at law enforcement. And check out Mark's newest book, The Tactical Heart. Both are available at Amazon.com.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
You are listening to The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Let's send it back to your hosts. It's Margaret and Michael Lyons.
Drink easy, man.
He threw it back to you because you were coughing.
Yeah. Back from the coughing fit.
Yes. Well, and as we were talking about on the break, it's things happen in live radio. That's why it's exciting.
It's real.
Your hosts do everything without a net.
Right.
We're not talk about the things we all do without a net. Anyway, so moving right along into the new year here, we've been talking a little bit about in essence attitudes, and I think what we found is that I thought it was a very interesting sort of insight that as human beings we have a tendency to try and stop, or rather take ourselves out of being and try to be human doings or human feelings or human, in essence, make ourselves almost a collector rather than somebody who experiences, rather than someone that experiences things. It's like, here's an insight, Margaret. Right now, people today on social media or with their phones go everywhere, and every bloody experience, they whip out their phone like a practice, like a sword, whoosh, and they're like, ka-choo, 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 ka-choo. And they're not experiencing the moment. They're not sitting there going, wow, this is great. They're like, man, I can't, can you move over and get the light? It's like, and so what are they doing? Those are like little compressed blocks of, oh, and then we went here, and then they'll go and they'll write a 15-page Facebook post with 5,000 pictures about we went all over the place. We had such a good time, and I don't think they had as good a time if they would have just been there, be in the moment.
Right.
Let the experiences come. Realize they're going to be ephemeral. The cookie's going to be in your mouth and then eaten and then gone. but experience it and enjoy it. Don't say, "Wow," I mean, you take a picture of your food before you eat it. Like, that's not really. I don't need to see what you're eating, but they feel that that's.
Well, it's kind of interesting because again, it's that level of sharing that everybody wants to do, and it has to do with the reflection.
Yes.
They're more concerned with the reflection that they're sending out, so that people will tune in because this is what other people want it reflected back to them. So I'm going to put that out there. That way, they'll feel good about what's happening to me.
They'll have an opinion.
Yes.
Oh, they'll see my opinion.
Yes.
I thought this thing was great. Look at this runny pile of goo that I'm about to eat. Oh, that's awesome. And then they want someone else they want someone to care about that opinion and to have an impact, and for them to, the Greek chorus, oh, fill in your name here. You're so wonderful. I love when you eat runny things on your plate. And it's that whole kind of, that's the,
Well,
know.
Let's distill that a little bit though, because what that means is they're taking this thing, which they had compressed from an experience, and suddenly this presented itself, this whatever, if it happens to be a dish or a meal. Okay. And taking steps into it. Now, most people were like, okay, I'll just take the picture and then I'm going to enjoy it and da-da-da-da. But you sit there and you're like, experiencing it doesn't necessarily mean that you have got to share it out there. It means that this is for you. Why is it necessary to extend it outward like that? Because what you're doing is dissipating the experience. You're not, it becomes more of a surface thing instead of entering into the experience and walking through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it by its own definition becomes a surface thing. Shallow instead of going deep in. And that I find fascinating. Like, as human beings, why are you choosing to have a more shallow experience instead of taking steps down and into what's in front of you? And again, it's that fear mode. It's like there's the unknown is here. If I may not actually know. I'll go this far because I know I'm enjoying it right here. But I don't feel safe enough.
I think there's two or three really good things here. In making it shallow and spreading it out amongst all the people that you're also, in essence, kind of like, instead of having to have your own experience, you try to make it everybody's experience, and therefore you don't have to have internalized it. You can just say, remember that thing that I did? Oof, it's all out now. It's just out there. This is the thing I did. This is the next thing I did. It keeps it from, as you say, becoming anything of significance, of actually changing you. When you walk through pain, it changes you.
Yes.
You're not the same being.
Right.
Making it into a rock means you don't actually have to ingest it. You don't actually have to walk through it. You just kind of carry it. It's another thing.
But that's exactly it. It's how many experiences have you compressed and wind up carrying around and saying, well, look, I've had all these experiences. And you sit there and go, but it hasn't touched your soul.
Isn't this also something, I'll just say, that people do? They say, well, I have to process those experiences later, or I have to unpack those experiences. It is true that when you're in overwhelm, when you're being run down by life, you do get to a point where you can't process it fast enough. You can't experience it at that level, and that's a survival mode.
Yeah.
But to live there all the time with every tater fry that you eat, is a terrible thing.
That's interesting that you should point out it's a survival mode, because that is a survival chakra energy.
Yeah.
That is exactly how you would, if your life was in danger. It would it would pack away a whole bunch of things, and just you're down to the functioning level.
Right.
And because life matters. So why are people falling into a survival chakra experience? Oh my.
Well, you mentioned fear.
Mhm.
You know, I think that if you're not allowing a feeling to flow through you, and you're blocking it, it's because you feel that somehow any sort of change is like existential threat to you.
Yes.
Even the simplest change.
Yes. Yes, that is something actually to think about. Because it's like, is that what's actually happening? Are you actually not living because you've decided that at this is the level I'm satisfied at, I'm not going to get
Safe.
Yeah. It's a control thing. This is my comfort zone.
Hmm. My safe space. You hear people say that all the time. This is my safe space. Like that's nice.
Well, it's just you as a human being, you are capable of so much more than what you think you are.
That what you think. So it's not only is a safe space in a survival mode, but it's a think mode.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trusting your being that whatever comes will be something that can flow through, and you can move with it, and you'll change.
Yes.
No, I don't want to change. I don't want to
Yes.
grow. I want to just be me. I want to just be me.
This is what I know.
This is what I
me.
know. You know, it's like saying, remember that wonderful experience. The guy said, "Well, how do you get from here?" You know, I only know around here, and he's looking at his feet. You know, only like around. I only know around here, meaning like the dirt that's like 6 inches away from your feet, and that's it. So anything that tries to threaten to change you becomes an existential threat to you, and you pack it away. I can't deal with that right now. It's going to change me.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of, you know, you and I have been in existential threat situations. So life's coming at you so hard and so fast that you can't deal with it. And people who have been in those types of situations, threat of your life, an attack, war, whatever, you know that you can get to the point where you can't possibly let these feelings run through you because you just can't deal with them at the moment.
Life basically was coming at you, and you have to be able to survive. You need to be able to pull away enough to make decisions. And so you wind up compressing those experiences, those feelings, those thoughts, and packing them away, and you do wind up unpacking them later. So that survival mechanism is useful, especially when you're doing high or overwhelming situations.
Well, and I think it comes down to this: is that if you're in that mode all the time, and I think that's what we were saying, is that in the case that you are in the survival mode, you are in a mode where you can't process emotion coming in, you can't process the experience coming in. You have to. So we all have the ability to kind of pack that away, and you know, have to unpack the experiences later, have to process it later. But if you're in a normal type of experience, and yet you're using that survival mechanism, that lower chakra, that kind of existential threat is coming to me. Somehow it's going to change me. It's going to make a basic change in my persona. And it's not. You're not using that mechanism to actually deal with a survival situation. You're, your reaction to change, therefore, or to any kind of experience that's coming towards you is like a survival.
Right. And to live life only in that way just makes it a limited sort of experience. You cannot go deep. It's, again, almost a just below the surface experience.
Dilute.
Yeah, a dilute experience. And that's not why we're here. But that's also why it takes courage to go deep into an experience. Because many times it's things that aren't going to make you feel good about it, or discovering things about yourself that you may not have known before.
Well, yes, and to kind of wrap this all up into our premise again, the idea that your experiences are turned into things, that you, in essence, turn all, you reject all change, and instead, anything that comes in, you have to have an opinion about it. You have to compress it into a ball. You have to turn it into something that you're not going to process now, maybe never process. All you have to do is say, good, bad, good, bad, and never give yourself the luxury to say, I'm just going to be, let the experience flow through me, possibly change me, take the risk. You mentioned courage. When you're living life with courage, you mean that you're really saying is that I'm open to experience. I may change. I may be hurt. I may be, I may have a good experience, but I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be the same person. I'm not going to be the same being once life gets through with me. As you mentioned, when you're walking through, or when you're in a bad experience, the only way to go through it is to walk through it, is to let it happen to you. Let the experience happen to you. Don't turn it into a...
It's not a thinking exercise.
Not a thinking exercise, exactly.
Your experience is, and by going through it is the only way that you will understand more fully who you are. Because the experience itself is what surrounds you, but that is not who you are.
Right.
The freedom comes in choosing the quality of your response.
Right, and not just having an opinion about it.
Right. It's not whether you like it or not. The quality of the response is how your heart is actually opening to the experience.
And you mentioned before that if you make it shallow and surface, you're not letting it go in. You're trying to keep it from ever changing you. You're not letting it get down into your heart. If you're keeping it down here, packing it away and not processing it at all, or just deflecting it with an opinion. I look at my tater tot. Isn't it the best tater tot you ever saw? And then sending it out, send all to 10,000 people. Yes, it's the best tater tot I ever saw. But no one gets changed by that. It's just a bunch of opinions, meaningless. You're on to the next tater tot.
Well, that's believing that your life is a string of surface things. It's like, and whether you like it or not, the surface aspect of it is convenient because it's an ability within you to give it just a half a second to whether or not you will take the step into a deeper experience. Sometimes you do have to pull away a little bit and then say, okay, deep breath, and in you go.
But I think that's the point, is that you go in.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you are thrust in, if you are immersed in an experience that you cannot control, the decision to allow the experience in is the only one you have to make. You don't have to say, I like it, I don't like it, I'm going to compress it and not process it. You have to say, I'll let it in, and then I'll let it take me where, as a being, I will let this experience take me somewhere. It's going to change me.
And you see, that's the transition from that mental state into the being state. The being state is your spirit connection. And your spirit connection gives you the courage to live.
The courage to live. That's important.
But that only comes from your spirit aspect. Your mental aspect will give you every reason not to engage in something because you could possibly get hurt.
Right?
Or your feelings, you could possibly feel something negative here.
You could also be a different being, and who knows whether you might not like yourself.
Well, yes, you have to continually. But
and I think what we've done is reach the end of the lovely program and the people that like us do it. So I'm Michael Lyons, and this has been The Soul of the Everyman.
And I'm Margaret, and thank you for listening.